Hood of nicely kept homes alongside Route 220 between Martinsville and Ridgeway. Since 1947, they've been racing at the half-mile Martinsville Speedway. Among the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in this little valley, Clay Earls, Bill France, and their partners built this racetrack. It's a timeless place where, despite all the modernizations and high-rise grandstands, it is still perhaps NASCAR's family-friendliest little racetrack. But there's action here aplenty coming at you. Same song, second verse. It's called Short Track Weekend. The Speed Channel welcomes you to Martinsville, Virginia, and the Martinsville Speedway for NASCAR Nextel Cup Series qualifying. Nice crowd on hand for Jackson Hewitt Pole Day at the smallest speedway on the Nextel Cup Tour, but one of the most demanding. Let's welcome birthday boy Matt Yoakum.
Well, thanks, Mike. And it was a huge weekend last weekend, Sunday and Monday in Bristol for Kevin Harvick. Now, on Sunday, you scored your 5th career win, which was your first ever short track win. That was huge.
Yeah, the whole weekend was huge for RCR. To take the GM Goodwrench and the Reese's Chevrolet to victory lane was something that we needed, and we've been really close there a lot of times and just, you know, come up a little bit short. So to finally crack that short track win and get the first win of the season is really cool for Richard and everybody involved.
Now, there's been a lot of trash talking between yourself and the veteran, the rookie versus veteran, Darrell Waltrip. Now, you're going to attempt to qualify for the truck race. He is too. Now, if you can pull off a win, you'll do something that nobody has ever done, win a truck, a Busch, and a Cup race in consecutive starts. Yeah, to just have the opportunity to do that is really cool in the Yardman Chevrolet this weekend. But the trash talking has been minimal from my side because this truck race is going to be tough to make. There's a lot of guys, you know, going for 7 spots in a truck race and a lot of tough competition. So after and if we make the field, then we'll do some trash talking. He can add a lot to his racing resume with a big, productive weekend here in Martinsville. To the editor of Speedway Illustrated, Dr. Dick Berggren.
Well, thank you, Matty, and a happy birthday to you. 29 years old, yet again for yet another year. It's an amazing thing. Rusty Wallace, certainly one of the favorites for Sunday's race. He has won here 7 times. That's more than anybody else that'll be in the field on Sunday. Led 3,585 laps. That's more than anybody else who will be in the field on Sunday. But right now, the focus on qualifying. 10th quick in practice. How important is it to qualify well here?
I think it's very important to qualify well here. It's all about getting a good pit selection and getting good track position. And for some reason at this racetrack, if you qualify well, it seems like you can hold that track position for a long time. And so I'll be driving hard and trying to get that baby on the pole just like everybody out here.
And has the same car that won here last spring. Does that matter to have the car that won here? Do you feel better if you bring back a winning car, or does it not matter?
It's some people do, but really it's really not. I mean, this particular car, I based everything off the last race. The last race I was here, I ran really well. I was 5 or 6 laps from, you know, having a heck of a finish, and I running second. I went on the outside of Johnson trying to pass him for the lead and ended up getting myself back to 10th position. But this is the same car, but it's got a new body on it. It's been completely rebuilt. The same skeleton, so to speak, the same frame and cage. But I don't like saying it's the same car and I should win and I should do all that, because every time I've said that in the past, it's gave me troubles. But it's been rebuilt, and it's only got 2 races on it. This will be the 3rd one.
All of us on the broadcast team wish you well in your last spring race at Martinsville. Hope you have a great day on Sunday.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Mike?
Let's go back to last Sunday and show you some of the mayhem of Bristol. Carl Edwards getting into Hermie Sadler there as part of the first incident of the race. And Jeff Gordon was one of many who had some tire woes. He cut down a tire, managed to climb back up toward contention as the day went on. Rusty, as he pointed out, tire woes as well. Lost 2 laps getting into the pits and getting that tire replaced. Bobby Hamilton Jr. turns Kenny Schrader around. And this was the big one at Bristol. 9 cars in all sustaining damage. And this the most inexplicable. Rusty Wallace gets whammed by Ricky Rudd, destroys the front of Rudd's car. Wallace's car all but undamaged from a hard hit. A little later on, Jimmie Johnson slides up the racetrack. That takes Jeff Burton out of the race, spins back up on track where he's met by an onrushing Nextel Cup champ, Kurt Busch. No one was hurt. No one was happy. Through it all, Kevin Harvick, who started at the back, persevered, kept all the fenders intact on his car, got to do the victory burnouts and a bullish victory lap. And that was just Sunday. We still have Monday highlights yet to go for the Busch race. That was rained out from Saturday. Hi, everybody. Mike Choi, Larry McReynolds with you at another short track and another big beat and bang weekend. And there's no disrespect in that statement because there's only so much room and there's an awful lot of cars here, 43 of them on track at once. Some of these things are going to happen. And we talk about the weather vortex circle that rises. I think there's a temper vortex here as well.
Well, we hope what happened in Bristol stayed in Bristol, but there's a good chance that it probably did. And I doubt that anybody will come to Martinsville with any vendettas in their pocket, but we know it's bound to happen here. I'm sure we're going to have somebody, as you saw Jeff Burton, walking out to the edge of the racetrack, pointing that finger at somebody. So I'm sure, just like Bristol, someone's feelings will get hurt and emotions will get in check. It always happens at the short track. This is the first time since '99 that we've ran back-to-back short track races.
But here we are with a traditional schedule. Qualify Friday, final practice Saturday, race on Sunday, a new surface on the racetrack, a new concrete surface, and a lot of fellas who have to go or go home.
But I was a little confused with that. You would have thought, okay, since we're back to a normal schedule where today's all about qualifying, that a lot of the teams, especially teams that have to qualify on times, you'd see them making very short qualifying runs. But across the board, all 47 or 48 cars that are here, I saw everyone making long runs. In fact, Jimmie Johnson and Casey Mears ran over 70 laps. Casey Kane, 67. Tony Stewart, 65 laps. So these guys may be anticipating weather possibly tomorrow when they're trying to get ready to race, but I saw a lot of long runs by most of these race teams today, getting in that rhythm that you have to get in at this racetrack.
Ryan Newman, fastest in practice. That's a big surprise. He was under the track record. That's another big no surprise. But tell you what, let's go back to Monday at Bristol when they ran the Busch race, rained out from Saturday. Late in the race, couple laps to go, Shane Meal gets in the back of Dale Jarrett, turns him around into the wall, up to the outside wall, and up to Michel Jourdain. It was one of several incidents for the young driver on track during the day, and he and Dale Jarrett had a discussion about it. After the race, tempers again. Denny Hamlin gets to Carl Edwards. This is after the checkered flag. Turns him around. And as is always the case, who had the last word? NASCAR. Shane Meal, 25 driver and owner points, $10,000. Denny Hamlin, probation and $5,000, and 4 various crew chief infractions ranging from $2,000 to $500. Fortunately, the Busch Series has this weekend off.
That is a good thing, absolutely.
First one this season, but fortunately they do.
And you know, I think what Dale Jarrett was so mad about is Shane Meal. It wasn't the fact that he got into the back of him. It's the fact that he got into him and stayed in the throttle until Dale Jarrett basically spun out. I was not totally surprised, though, at the fine and the penalty against Shane Meal, and I think possibly a lot of that had to do with his post-race comments about a man like Dale Jarrett.
And if the in-car tape of his race was reviewed, it wasn't the only incident that he was in all day. Personally, well, anyway, NASCAR had the last word, so don't let me have the last word. Let's let Matt Yoakum have the next word.
The birthday boy.
Yes. And let's talk to Jimmie Johnson and Casey Mears, the California boys. Now, I know that you're hoping for some rain, and you're starting to get some sprinkles. I know he is hoping for rain as well.
Well, he's halfway hoping for rain. I am. I'll take the pole anyway I can get it. I wasn't so good in practice, but the car, we worked on race runs, and I typically don't qualify well here, so we knew that coming into it and just kind of blowing that off and worked on our race runs, and the car was great. So regardless of where we start the Los Monte Carlo, it's going to be great on Sunday.
Quickly, have you had a chance to talk to Jeff Burton and his team?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a funny week with all the hype from what took place at Bristol, but I talked to Jeff after the race, and everything was fine. I feel bad that we got together and he got turned around and wrecked his race car. He gave me a lane to go by, and unfortunately, we just kind of ran out of space coming off of 2. And I felt bad enough to walk into his trailer and confront his guys and just apologize to them. And I think it shocked them a little bit to see me walk in the truck. But accidents happen in the sport, and it was just a racing incident. And I feel bad for the 31 guys and also for the 97. I mean, he came flying in there and hit the 31 pretty hard. So, all in all, everybody's okay, and I think everything's fine, and we'll just go on from there.
Real quick, Casey Mears, scale of 1 to 10. How's your car?
I would say we're about an 8. It's the best. I felt like it's the best car we got here so far at Martinsville. I mean, I'm never really all that good here, so hopefully we come out and do well.
He says it's an 8, and he walked over going, I hope it rains. I'd rather start 26th than 29th. Let's go to Dr. Dirt.
I hope it doesn't rain.
With Ryan Newman, and he has got a terrific shot to win the pole here. He has won 2 poles so far this year, holds the track record. As Mike Joy said, fastest in practice. How about it?
Definitely got a good shot as long as the Mother Nature lets us do that here. The Alto Dodge was good right off the truck, and we definitely enjoy this type of qualifying and this type of weekend. But just going to do our best to put a lap down or 2 laps down and see where we end up.
And you got the same car you won the pole with here last fall. You in love with the car?
Not yet. It hasn't took us to victory lane, but it's won a pole. So, having the track record here is cool. Car's a little quicker today, looks like, than last time. So potentially break the track record again.
Okay, good luck to you. Mike?
Nick, most of the major rain has blown away. Rained hard here yesterday. Just a couple of drops here and there right now. Tomorrow on FX, Nextel Cup final practice, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then we'll see the Craftsman Truck Series race on Speed at 1 p.m. On Sunday, speed coverage brackets, the Advance Auto Parts 500 on Fox, which you'll see coverage beginning in high definition at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Bud Pole qualifying from Martinsville is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. For the best parts, people, and price, we're ready in advance. Kenny Schrader has 23 career Nextel Cup poles. 3rd in 1991 is his best Martinsville start in 20 races.
Mike, he was pretty quick in practice earlier. He was 9th quickest. And I think what we will see here, we talked about this being a rhythm racetrack. It's also get good heat in the tire type of qualifying racetrack. For that reason, I think we will see most of everyone's second lap be the quickest lap. He just took the green flag for his first lap.
Concrete corners, asphalt straightaways. The concrete newly redone after some of it came up last April during the race. So a new surface to work with. White flag for Schrader. The track record is 1951. It's held by Ryan Newman.
He got real loose getting into turn 1. We talked about overdriving the entrance of the corner. It looked like he overdrove the entrance, got up the racetrack, and hits the outside wall. Now, his first lap was a pretty good lap, 1974. That's actually a little slower than he ran in practice earlier, but I think anything in the 1960s, 70s, maybe even 1980s will be a pretty good lap. But we'll have to see if they think this car is repairable. There's an awful lot of damage to the right side of that car, though.
Schrader is in the show with the Schwann's Home Delivery Dodge.
You watch right here, again, you're off the throttle, heavy brake, and see right there the car was bad loose, well up on the straightaway. Even before he turned it down in the corner, he tried to hold on to it, but the car just washed up the racetrack hard into the safer barrier wall there. See how loose he was, Mike? And he was still well up on the straightaway. And what that probably very well may have been, it may have been loose under braking as he got off the throttle and on the brake pedal.
So Kenny Schrader on what has been one of his better racetracks. Also had problems here last year as Joe Nemechek, trying to stay off the 99, got into Schrader. knocked him out of the race.
That's a shame. I know this team tested here for this race a week or so ago, and as you mentioned, this racetrack, Bristol, the short tracks, has been this team's strong suit, seemingly.
Well, we have to call, what's his name at Bristol? Come paint the wall.
Is it George?
Bring George down.
George.
I'm sure they have a George here.
Every track has to have a George.
You know what's missing, and we saw it just there, just above turns 1 and 2, is this track used to have alternating boxwoods and azaleas all the way around the corners at both ends of the speedway, and maybe they're just not in bloom yet, but I don't see them.
One thing they've put up, Mike, is that catch fence there, right, you know, on the outside of the racetrack. Used to just be somewhat of a regular fence.
And, of course, safer barriers. This will be Mike Wallace in the number 4 for Lucas Oil and the Morgan McClure team out of Abington, Virginia. And Mike was pretty competitive last week up at Bristol, but got in a couple of those scuffles. And he has to make the field on time.
Yeah, these guys are right there on top of the fence. Remember, they were the first team that was not locked into the first 5 races. They were 36th in owner points at the end of 2004, and they're right there 36th, 37th in owner points again. And Mike, he was only about 37th quickest in practice early. What NASCAR does, simply because of where you go out on the racetrack here off pit road, they actually give the team, the drivers, an extra lap almost to warm up as Mike completes his first lap at 1988. Now, I think, again, we'll see these guys, as heat gets in the tires, possibly run quicker on the second lap. But he did have an awfully good race car last week up there at the team's home track, Morgan McClure Motorsports from Abington, Virginia.
Checker for Mike Wallace. Second lap is slower. You'll see that he is just in the danger zone. Remember, we start using top 35 car owner points from this year. This week, the drivers black on white are guaranteed in the show. From there and below, they've got to get in on time. Kyle Petty in the Georgia Pacific Ronnie Dodge will be the next driver to qualify at a track where his dad has 15 victories.
Kyle has a brand new race car here, coming off that 8th place finish at Bristol, his first top 10 finish since April 2002, almost 3 years ago.
Kyle is 19th in points. He does have one pole here. Came when he was driving for Felix Sabates. This will be his 49th Martinsville Cup race.
You know, Mike, one of the big challenges here at Martinsville before they did the resurfacing was the transition from the concrete to the asphalt coming off the corner. But what they did, you can see, they extended the concrete well up on the straightaway when they did resurface it. It's not quite the challenge it used to be. It used to be almost back in just the late exit of the corner.
Right there, especially Larry, turn 2 that you're talking about, where they've extended the concrete, another grandstand section or 2 further. Hard to measure that in feet. It's probably about 2.5 car lengths more concrete than they had. First lap 1990 for Kyle. The second lap is quicker, moves him up to second.
That's about what he practiced earlier, out of low 1980.
Richard Petty has 15 wins here, but the leader among active drivers, we met earlier, Rusty Wallace, who broke that winless drought right here last April. He's had 42 starts here, and that was his 7th grandmother clock. 3 poles to go with that, 16 top 5s. 9 top 10 starts in the last 10 Martinsville races. 4 out of those 10, he was on the front row. Last year winning from 17. So let's see what the Miller Lite Dodge can do.
Talked about Richard Petty having the most wins. Rusty being the 3rd all-time. Our own DW is 2nd with 11 Martinsville wins. Rusty last week at Bristol definitely had the car to beat. Just qualified up in the first 2 or 3 positions, led a bunch of laps, but had a tire issue, as we show in the highlights. It kind of took him out of contention.
Good lap, first on the board, 1968.
That's about a 10th slower than what he ran in practice. He was 10th quicker. He can pick up on his second lap as Kyle Petty did. That'll put him probably well down in the 50s. Right now, the track record, talking about Ryan Newman, is a 1951.
Didn't sweep all the way to the outside of the track in turn 4, but still picked up his time. 1961 for Rusty. Matt?
Tony Stewart has a grandfather clock from Martinsville. Also, big jump in the points last week, Tony.
Yeah, it was a huge weekend for the Home Depot team. You know, got a little of the luck back that we lost late in the race there, getting spun out, but you know, came back and rallied back to a 3rd place, which this team needed. I mean, everybody, Zippy and the guys have done a great job, and you know, we got a good start to the weekend this weekend. I don't know how good we're going to qualify, but I feel like we worked a lot on race setups the first 2/3 of the practice session. Feel like we're going to have a really good car for Sunday.
And the big thing, it looks like no rain up at Eldora. A big doubleheader as he opens up his career as a track owner this weekend. Dick?
Well, Kyle Petty last weekend pulled his first top 10 finish in a long time, and the world seems to be a happier place as a result of that.
I didn't hear what you said, but it is.
I said the world is happier because you finished in the top 10 last week.
We're happier. The guys at Petty Enterprises, the people at Georgia Pacific and Brawny, I think the people at Cherry Oaks and Dodge are happy too. Just because for us, you know, we've struggled so much over the last 2 or 3 years, so to put together a good qualifying effort with the 43 Cherry Oaks Dodge and then to come out with a good run with the Brawny Dodge is good.
Congratulations. Nice to see you running well.
Matt Kenseth, 1985 for the DeWalt Ford on the first lap. Larry, he took a real late entry coming down into the corner that time.
Yeah, it's like he tried to keep the car out a long time and tried to straighten the center of the corner out. He picks it up a little bit on that second lap, and that actually picks him up a position. I know this team tested here, but they were not that happy with their test results a week or so ago.
Rusty Wallace, quickest so far. Shelmerdine coming off pit road, a little bit of smoke from the back of his number 27 as he comes out to qualify. Here's Dick.
With Rusty Wallace, how was it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, how was the run?
It was pretty good. It was a little skatey, a little loose, a little tight. I had to kind of guard the rear end getting into turn 1, but it got in there and it's starting to rotate. Now I just let it slide the rear around, and I mashed the throttle and drove it straight off. So it was pretty. You run a 61. That's not as fast a run in practice, but it's awful close.
Okay, Matt Yoakum.
And the guy who sat on the outside front row this event 1 year ago. How about a shot for the front row again, Jamie?
Well, we changed quite a bit of stuff. We changed sway bar, air pressure. We even put a different carburetor on it. The car was really good in race trim. We put it in qualifying trim. I just couldn't pick up a lot. So hopefully we've made the right changes. This is one of my favorite racetracks, so really looking forward to this weekend.
Nearly won this race last fall, finishing second. Mike?
Thanks, Matt. Kurt Shelmerdine must time his way into the field, and Larry, that car's just not coming up off the corner.
Not at all. The car really will not stay down in the middle of the corner. He has to really hesitate a long time. You'll see it wash up right there just a little bit. He just can't put that throttle down, and right now he's the slowest of the 6 cars. You can see him having to play with that throttle well up on the straightaway.
20:48 for the Philadelphia native, who races out of his own shop in Welcome, North Carolina. He is 6th of 6 right now.
We have 47 cars here, so basically what that means is of our, how many cars? I guess that's 12 cars. You have to beat 4 of the cars that has to qualify.
Right. None of the drivers who need to qualify on time are eligible for a Champions Provisional, so there will be 8 spots available to time trialers. Today is Jackson Hewitt Pole Day here, and here is their car driven by Greg Biffle. Yeah, it's I guess it's tax time again.
Just a few days.
Tick, 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 tick. Tick goes the clock on Biffle.
Greg was 20th quickest in practice earlier. He has never posted a top 15 finish here, but boy, once this group left Daytona, and it's looking pretty good right there on our pace chase, but once he left Daytona, 5 races, 4 top 10 finishes in that stretch.
All right, balance due or a refund for Biffle. Well, second place. That's refund territory.
Oh, he got real loose then off turn 2. The hopes would he ran a 1969. If he could pick up a 10th, that put him on the pole. And even with as loose as he got off turn 2, it's still looking awfully good right here. If this holds up for the pole, he made up a lot of time because he was sideways off turn 2. Yeah, he slows down 1998. I felt like that, what happened over there in turn 2 was really going to hurt his lap.
Well, Greg Biffle took almost all the deductions to which he was entitled, and he is second fastest to Rusty. There are his finishes this season after trouble at Daytona. Great rebound.
Sitting second in the points, 94 points out of the lead right now.
Coming up, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jamie McMurray, and Dave Blamey. Tonight on Speed Channel, live from the Speed Stage trackside at 7 p.m. For the first time in the history of trackside, the guest list has been embargoed. You're going to have to tune in to find out who's on.
But trust me, it will probably be one of the biggest shows that we've ever had.
Wow. Here's Dick.
With
Greg Biffle, this is ordinarily not one of your best tracks, but you climbed out of the car with a big smile, as you should. Great qualifying run. Who's responsible?
I think it's the crew. Certainly not the driver here at Martinsville. I don't proclaim to be a very good Martinsville guy, but gosh, it was a great lap. I don't know why it was so fast. I told the guys that, you know, I felt like I waited a long time to get on the gas and was a little tight coming off the corner, and started sprinkling a little bit, and I lost my guts on the second lap. But, you know, it's we're second on the board. Hopefully, I was hoping it kind of might rain a little bit because I was second in points, but now I'm second, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, either way, you're all set. Mike?
Well, here's a preview of coming attraction. Jeff Fuller just tried to qualify, and they waved him off. If we can tilt up from the grandstand and look at what's up over turns 3 and 4, there is a big water tower there that you can hardly see. It's not very far in the distance. In fact, you can't see it on TV because that's where those rain clouds are. They are, I would say, 2 miles or less from the speedway, Larry, and that's coming down up there.
Yeah, we're definitely the sprinkle. We're looking out the booth here out the window, and it's definitely picking up right now. And Jeff Fuller, of course, would be one of those cars. 61 car, you see him right there. Definitely wants to see qualifying because he is a go or go home, and if this thing gets rained out, he will go home. 2
modified wins here for Fuller. That's Buddy Cisco's car. He is listed as owner and crew chief of that Dodge. This is not a big Thunder Cell. It's only about 3 miles long, we're told. So how was golf with Jim Cantori and the Bobby Labonte folks and the tournament?
Well,
a beautiful day.
I ran a little late getting there, so I didn't get to meet Jim Cantori, but it was a beautiful day. It was a great tournament. Tony Stewart was there. Of course, Bobby Labonte, their crew chiefs, Greg Zipadelli, Steve Addington. Had a big old time, raised a lot of money in particular for the Victory Junction Game Camp. Down at Ballantine in South Charlotte, what a beautiful course down there.
Raining a little harder now. Let's check with Matt.
Mike, the sprinkles have picked up a little bit. Let's check in with Dale Earnhardt Jr. First off, big jump in points last week for you and this team.
Yeah, it was. We got to a track where we could kind of make up for some of our cons this year, and you know, we just kind of drove good and drove smart. Had good stops on pit road. The car was driving pretty good, handled good, and just stayed clean. A lot of guys had trouble there at the end too. We gained a lot of spots, so we're at another track where we can do the same thing if we play our cards right. And the car, we tested here, and the car's been fast today. It's been driving pretty good. We didn't run this, with this new surface, we didn't run good last time. So just trying to concentrate on getting the car with a turn, and I can still power down on the exit of the corner and get some good fast laps and be consistent all day.
Now, you mentioned that you've had some issues this year, some cons. What are some of the cons you feel like you need to work on?
Well, when I make a mistake, I own up to it. And if I don't, either Tony Jr. or somebody will tell me I made a mistake. And I've made a few this year. I made a few at the end of last year that cost us some points. And I think we need to get a lot better on our motors. I think our motors are down a little bit. I think that there's a lot to be gained in the bodies that we're learning. We went and tested it at Kentucky, trying to learn a lot about the body and trying to get some downforce, and some grip in the car. There's just a lot of things. I mean, you can't never, you can never sit there and think that you got the best or you're one of the best. There's always somebody behind you working twice as hard, and that's kind of the position we're in now. We got to work twice as hard to gain kind of where we've slipped or where we've lost. I ain't forgot how to drive a car, and I know Pete can set one up. I know Tony Jr. can set one up, and those guys could get the job done. We just got to get the equipment, you know, to do it with. And you know, I think that we need, not that we laid down anywhere over the last couple of years. We just people just got out there and learned some stuff, and we ain't there, you know. So we got to get there. We got to get a little bit better race car when we go to the racetrack. We can come to these short tracks and kind of blend in and make up for it. But you know, at places like California and Vegas, you know, we were terrible, and I've had good runs at both of them before, so I know that it's got nothing to do, you know, not necessarily with me, but you know, just a combination of the spoil of the tire and how the car drives now. You know, it's just not been good.
Now, you're a huge motivator. You've had Lou Holtz come by DEI before, and last year you set a big goal of 5 wins. What is your goal this year for the win column?
Any time. It'd be great to get a win. I don't know if we can realistically say, all right, this is how many I expect. I don't know what to expect really from our team right now this year as far as wins go. I would give up any win to be in the top 10 there with 10 races to go. I'd still be winless if I was to have a trade, but it don't really work like that. So it'd be nice to get a few, and not necessarily at Talladega or Daytona either. I'd like to get us a win at some other tracks. I think we got that opportunity coming up. You know, we might be good at Charlotte, and we're working. Like I said, we're working on the bodies and stuff the last couple of weeks, trying to get the cars better. We get a little bit more power under the hood. I know those guys back at DEI can make it, and we just got to get it done and get out there and show them who's boss.
And a win here?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we came real close, but they changed the surface, and it's a different racetrack, and I've got to figure this place out all over again. So I didn't do a good job here last year. We didn't handle good. We didn't drive good. I wasn't smart, and neither was the cars. So hopefully this time around we'll get it done.
3 career Nextel Cup short track wins. Never won here at Martinsville. He'd love to get a grandfather clock, Mike.
And Matt and Mike, the one thing that I want to say is we see Dale Earnhardt here at Martinsville. See the last 6 races, 5 top 5 finishes, never even led a lap here at first 4 races, and the average finish certainly jumped up in the last 6 races. But I guess the comment I'd like to make here, and I spent a lot of time in that garage area, I talked to Pete Rondeau on a pretty regular basis, and I think it's a given. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he has not forgotten how to drive a race car. We certainly know that. And I get a ton of emails every week at my website, and so many of them are about this 8 car, DEI. What's wrong? Why'd they swap the crew chief? I say this with confidence. The problem is not Pete Rondeau. Pete Rondeau is a racer. But it's like Pete and I were talking this morning. I told Pete, I said, Pete, I was glad for Dale Earnhardt Jr., but I was more glad for you at Bristol. You needed that because he was in a no-win situation taking the crew chief position of this car. If they win and run up front, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. If they run bad and don't win, it's Pete Rondeau. He was in a no-win situation. I just believe when Pete and Dale Jr., they get all the ingredients to work with them, motors, bodies, aero, all those things, I just believe this race team will be back a force to reckon with. I say that with a lot of confidence.
You know, as you say that, I can't help but think how much racing is becoming much like other major professional sports. It's the manager, it's the coaches, it's the players. If everybody's all on the same page, you produce wins and championships. And if there's any ingredient missing, it shows.
And it just does not take much, Mike. You just look at the practice sheets. Half a second separating basically the top 35 or 40 cars. That's no one big thing. It's little bitty detail things. And all it takes, a little down on the horsepower, a little off an aero, and it can be the difference between being first and 35th in Nextel Cup.
The concrete will dry quickly. The asphalt takes a little longer, so the track trucks are out there trying to keep enough heat in the racetrack as the rain comes and goes here at Martinsville.
It's about talent. sportsmanship,
Bobby Allison, Davey Allison is shot in second.
and fame. Only the best earn the title Speed Channel Driver of the Year. This quarter's nominees are Craig Delansky, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Kanaan, Steve Kenzer, and Dan Weldon. Log on to speedtv.com now and cast your vote for Driver of the Quarter.
Well, that's going to be a tough choice. A lot of big names.
That is quite a lineup right there.
Yep. There's where you vote, speedtv.com. We are under a hold for a brief shower, about a 3-mile thundercell moving through here. So we'll move back down to the pits. Dick Berggren.
Yeah, and after tomorrow's truck race, they better add Darrell Waltrip's name to that because he's going to have a big day tomorrow. We all know that. Kenny Schrader, what happened in your qualifying lap?
I got the back end of the car out and tried chasing it, and then NASCAR doesn't blow the track for qualifying from all the rubber because as competitors we ask them not to.
Now, why is that? Why would you not want to have all that rubber blown off the track? Would have saved you.
Well, it'd be real nice to have it all off there, but when they do, it affects the groove so much. So heck, you'd think we could run around and stay in that clean part, but I had to chase it up into the rubber when I got it loose getting in. We were 9th or something in practice and went for the kill, and I wound up killing the car.
Gone to a backup car. What do you do now? Can you get this car set up as well as the car that got crashed?
Well, now's the time that, we're real glad it's not an impound race. It's car 10. It's one of my favorite cars. We ran a lot last year. We kind of designated it as our primary backup there this year. We came up here, had a good test. So, yeah, we'll put all that other stuff inside this car. We've got an hour and a half tomorrow.
You always run well here at Martinsville, Ken. Why? What is there about this racetrack that makes it so special for you?
Well, it's kind of like the way you grew up, you're racing the same type of tracks. And, I don't know if we always run that good, but we finish good up here a lot of times because I haven't hit a lot of stuff. But guess what? Started out hitting this week.
All right, so it's all done. The hitting is all done. Now we're just looking for the good finish on Sunday.
That's the plan, but that was the plan going into qualifying, too, other than we really did want to start in top 5 and thought we had a legitimate shot. So they pay Sunday. We'll see what happens.
And as I reminded you, Kurt Busch has won from the 37th starting position, so you're okay. Matt?
Well, Dick, if you look at Larry McReynolds' resume, you'll see that he has a Martinsville victory, and the guy that was driving that car, and you never know who you're going to bump into down here on the grid at Martinsville, is Ernie Irvan, and you've got some special memories here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this has been an awesome racetrack. I remember, obviously, when I drove Robert Yates' car and got my first win here. A lot of fun.
What are you doing now, Ernie?
Actually, I'm helping promote the safety of Race to Safety. My foundation, I've started to get the awareness out that there's no cure for a head injury. I'm a head injury survivor, and what we want to do is have a laps walk. And what you do is you walk with the drivers, and what it'll be is at Michigan on August 17th, you walk with the drivers, and we'll walk one lap, and then sign some autographs, and be able to be associated with the drivers of your choice.
Now you're trying to gear this toward young kids who's riding bicycles and scooters.
Right, because there's no cure. It's all about, being able to have the prevention and getting kids to start wearing their protective gear, because I'm a head injury survivor, and I'm a 2-time survivor of a head injury, and most people don't have that choice of being able to be a survivor. A lot of people die, 20,000 or 50,000 die a year with a head injury. Some of them are car related, some of them are accident related with bicycles and stuff like that. So what we want to do is get it where every 23 seconds there's another head injury. And so it's a TBI, traumatic brain injury. And if we can get it where every 25 seconds there's one. So then if we can get it where that number gets farther and farther apart, I think we're doing a good job.
Sounds like a great program. That'll be Wednesday, August 17th, 2005 at the Michigan International Speedway. So you can probably check out Ernie's website to find out more, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there at MIS, Mike.
Racetosafety.com.
There you go, racetosafety.com. Thanks, Ernie. Mike?
And it's an important cause. Tell you, Scott and Katie don't get on their bicycle or their scooter without a helmet. And Larry, I firmly believe, as we've seen with hockey players, with bicycles too and things like that. If you start kids off at a young age wearing a helmet, wearing the proper protective safety gear, then they'll never want to participate in that sport or activity without it.
I think that's the clue right there, Mike, is, you know, if they don't know about riding it without this apparel, then they, you know, it's not anything they have to get used to because you start them off with it. But I tell you, Ernie Irvan came here and won the race with him. And Ernie, we talked about rhythm and being smooth. He was so smooth at a racetrack like this. I think that's what made him good places like here, and especially at road courses.
Absolutely. Dick Bergman.
Well, whoever said that racing is a humbling sport got it right. Carl Edwards won in Atlanta, both the Busch Series race and the Nextel Cup race. Then we went off to Bristol last weekend, and early in the event, a crash. Here at Martinsville, he made it just 6 laps before a crash. So the crew has worked hard on this race car. They've got the sheet metal all pounded out. They think they've got the wheels all pointed in the correct direction. But Carl Edwards will have his work cut out for him in qualifying because he has so little time on this car, Mike.
Bergie, look at the right side of that car. The thing looks like a bag of walnuts. I mean, they've done a great job. Fortunately, aerodynamics isn't very prime here.
But I know this team, they'll be glad to get these 2 short tracks behind them. When you look at the fact crash qualifying at Bristol last week, had to go to a backup car. You saw in our highlight package earlier, involved in an early race crash, and in this starting the weekend off like this at Martinsville. Rough couple of weeks for this group.
And you know, from what it looked like a little while ago, bag of walnuts looks pretty good. Here's Matt.
And Travis Kvapil made your Nextel Cup career start here last fall. So do you like this place?
I love it. It's one of my favorites. All short track racing I love, and I just have a good time. You know, I got a great feel for them, and all those places back in Wisconsin and the Midwest, I think, gave me a good feel for them. But you know, I'm excited to be here. I hope we get this in because I think we got a pretty good car.
Now, Rusty Wallace said that you two have done a lot of trading notes back and forth. He has to have been such a huge help settling in here at Martinsville.
Well, for sure. I mean, he's one of the best. Even you know, looking back at last week, he had a car to win, and you know, I had a top 10 car. So it's great to have someone like Rusty Wallace that you can lean on and take a little information from him. He's a great driver and won a bunch of races, a lot of these short tracks. So hopefully, you know, I don't know. I'm excited. We were all 3 Penske cars were in top 10 in practice, and we spent a little time in race trim even before that. So hopefully we can get this in. If not, you know, hopefully it'll rain out tomorrow. Nobody will get any practice for the race. I think we'll be all right. But on a side note, I guess it's your birthday, huh?
That's what I hear. Yes, it is.
Big 40?
No, actually, I've got a few years to go before then.
Good, because I don't want to talk about how old I'm getting either, because one more year and I go over a little hurdle as well.
Oh, 50. Wow, you look young for 50.
Good luck, man. Thank you.
See, I kind of thought 40 was a low number, in all honesty.
Me too. Of course, I didn't always think that, but
this is true.
It is now.
40's very young.
Jeff Fuller is 48. Two-time modified winner here. He's a former champion in that division. And as he takes this Dodge around, what Travis Kvapil said, I think you'll hear from a lot of folks all weekend. This is like the kind of tracks we grew up on. And for Jeff Fuller, who cut his teeth at the quarter-mile Westboro Speedway and the 5/8 mile Thompson Speedway, half-mile Stafford in Connecticut, when we come down here with the modifieds, Larry, this was Mecca for the modifieds. This was just as big for us as fellas down in the South to win a Daytona. This was it. This was the big time.
Yeah, I mean, this was their Daytona 500. I think they used to always run here in the fall, and it was a big event.
Yep. The Dogwood 500 in March, the Cardinal 500 in October. Fuller's first lap, 20:44. Going to be tough to make the field on that.
Yeah, he's going to, you saw he got real loose off turn 2. He would need to pick up about a half a second, I think, to even be remotely safe to get in this show. I know this team put a lot of effort. You talked about it. It's owned by Buddy Cisco, who's actually the crew chief for Arnold Motorsports. They tested out at Greenville Pickens, bought this car and engine from Bill Davis Racing, but that's going to be a little borderline, 2039 on lap 2.
Back to Bristol, Tennessee on Tony Stewart. Got into Rusty Wallace and spun his own car. I mean, what car control? How many people can you name that could do this and end up grabbing a gear and driving away?
And look at how many cars was coming at him. It was about half the field. Yeah, he went around one time, ended up the right direction, grabbed the gear. Looked like to me maybe only lost a handful of positions.
Little luck, a lot of skill, a little magic. And Tony got a nice comeback and finish out of it. In 12 Martinsville starts, 1 win, 2 poles. Let's see how the Home Depot Chevrolet performs. See that number on the back quarter panel where it says 504? Every week they pick a store as store of the week, and that store gets to be on Tony's car. It'd be nice if they put on there where it is, but if you're near store 504, give them an attaboy.
A little advertising here at Martinsville during qualifying. Yeah, Tony not making a lot of noise this year. Again, you saw the 3rd place finish at Bristol, but he's sitting there 3rd in the points. They've just been pretty solid. This is going to be a pretty decent qualifying run for Tony. 2nd quickest, 1968. So if he can pick up about a 10th on this 2nd lap, looks pretty solid there when you look at the pace chase there.
So far, the 60s are where it's at. Rusty at a 61, Tony a 68, Biffle a 69. See if that changes here. No, slower by 0.2.
And I think that's what happens a lot of time. You know, you make that first lap, the crew chief will give the driver what his time is, and the driver thinks, I can pick up just a little bit more. And this is definitely one of those places I think when you try to pick up, you'll actually slow down.
Now, in fairness to Mike Arning, Tony's PR guy, the press release did state where store 504 was. I forgot. In the battle of the home improvement centers, next up is Jimmy Johnson in the Lowe's Chevrolet. Our Nextel Cup leader by 35 points over Greg Biffle, Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, and Elliott Sadler. 1 Martinsville win, 3 straight top 5s here.
We interviewed him earlier, and he talked about his car was not that good. He made a lot of race runs. He was 33rd quickest, and he definitely, I think I mentioned this in the opening, was one of the cars that ran the most laps in practice, about 71 laps.
I don't want to dwell on last October, but it's got to be hard for this whole Hendrick team to come back to Martinsville.
I would say so, but what a streak this group has been on, Mike. The last 11 races, which would be the 5 this year and the 6 at the end of last year, 11 consecutive top 10 finishes at about every type of racetrack. I don't think they'll be very happy with that first lap, 20:04. That's 8th quickest out of 10 cars.
If he's saving up, now's the time. Looks like he might pick up a spot or 2 with this 2nd lap.
It's going to definitely be quicker, but I don't think it's going to be what he's exactly looking for. Picks it up to actually slows down to a 20:05. So he basically ran the same time. Looked like he may have lost that little bit of time off of turn 4 coming to the checkered flag.
That's a disappointment because Johnson right now is the slowest of the drivers who have run, who are guaranteed to be in the show by being part of that top 35 in corner points. Jamie McMurray up next. The Texaco Haviland Dodge, 4 Martinsville starts, 1 top 5 and 3 top 10 finishes.
Had a rough Bristol. Right before Bristol, he had moved into the top 10 in points and got involved in a crash at Bristol. Now he's back 15th in points. 17th quickest in practice earlier. Won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race here last fall.
Got a good jump back on the gas coming off turn 4. And there you see, moves to the front spot. He is really launching off the corner there.
And that's the whole key. Rotate through the middle right there. Car has to cut. You have to put that throttle down. You see, you have to play with it just a little bit. Get full throttle just as quick as you can. Sometimes you're better to hesitate a little bit to be able to stay in it rather than have to play with the throttle.
Well, Tony Stewart proved the track has not slowed down from that brief shower, but Murray along with Jimmy Johnson not faring well here. 1993 the first lap. This looks a little better. Will it be?
No, actually, Mike, sometimes a little bit of rain washing the racetrack down cools it down a little bit. Sometimes it can actually pick up a little bit of speed.
Coming up, Johnny Sauter, Dave Blaney, Randy LaJoie, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Johnny Sauter will be our 12th qualifier in the Miccosukee Indian Gaming Dodge. Here's Dick.
With Tony Stewart, just came in after running on that racetrack after the rain. What's it like out there?
I felt like it lost a little grip, probably because of the jet dryers being out there. It normally is for a couple laps, but didn't have the grip I was hoping for, obviously. But we backed up while we ran in practice, so I think everything's going to be all right for our Home Depot Monte Carlo.
And you'd know where store 504 is?
Somewhere in Texas.
There you go. Mike?
That about covers it. Stewart looking for his first top 5 Martinsville start since he was on the pole here in October of 2000.
Johnny Sauter in the 09 car was definitely one of the faster cars in practice of the go or go home group. One thing I did notice coming to take the green, there's actually a big curbing on the inside of these corners. You can see it right there, the yellow curbing. Coming to take the green, he hit the curbing coming off turn 4, had to get out of the throttle. And that first lap, not a very good lap, 2021. He's going to need to pick it up quite a bit if he wants to race here at Martinsville this week. Don't think this is going to be a lot better. 2016 picks up no position, so a little borderline for Johnny Sauter considering he ran a 1957 in practice earlier.
He does move Mike Wallace to the hot seat. Mike Wallace 1 spot away from being locked into the field. Matt?
Dale Jarrett, 27th fastest in practice, 10th here 1 year ago. DJ, a lot of race runs. How was your race car?
Not bad. We fought being tight most of the time during our race runs, and we finally got it freed up towards the end, and hopefully be good enough to qualify here. This place is so different now. It's so smooth. You don't even feel like you're at Martinsville, but they did a great job with it, and hopefully we've got the car freed up enough that we can go run a pretty good lap.
He has 1 win here back in 2001. Would love to add that to his stats. Another win.
Randy LaJoie. The Mach 1 Motorsports Chevrolet missed the show at Bristol. Kind of a patchwork effort to get that car even on the line to qualify at the last second. It looks much better here.
Yeah, he was actually 42nd quickest in practice, and he's one of the go or go home cars. So this would be a car that you mentioned Mike Wallace on the hot seat that he'll be watching real closely. See what Randy's first lap will be. 2011 moves him 10th quickest.
Moves him up to the hot seat. It locks Mike Wallace into the field unless, of course, LaJoie runs faster than Wallace's 1988 on this lap.
And right now we're not really seeing a pattern of a faster on the first lap, faster on the second lap.
Second lap a little slower for Randy LaJoie, so he does bump Mike Wallace into the race. To explain this system once again, you must beat 4 cars if you're one of those cars that has to qualify on time. And now that Mike Wallace's time is faster than 4 of the other cars in the same situation, Wallace is locked into the field. You can put yourself in the field by running faster than LaJoie's 2011 right now. Dale Jr., 2 wins, 4 top 10s on the short tracks last year. Most points earned on the short tracks of any driver for the 2nd year in a row.
We interviewed him a while ago. He was 22nd quickest in practice, and right now he's not actually on the clock yet. This is the lap to kind of get things going, and this is where you really want to try to get heat in your tires. You see his crew chief right there. I was talking about Pete Rondeau a while ago on the left-hand side of your screen.
As a driver, Pete Rondeau had a lot of success in his home state of Maine, usually running his own equipment without major sponsorship. So he knows to get a lot, how to get a lot from a little, and see if he can get a little from a lot right here with the Bud Chevy, which has qualified in the top 4 spots in 6 of his last 7 Martinsville races.
8th quickest on that first lap, Mike, 1990. You see, you can tell how hard they get on the brake here when they go lift off the throttle, roll out of it. You can see the car, nose of the car dive down right there. That's when you're off the throttle and on the brake hard, getting in the corner. And he basically runs about the same speed on lap 2. So right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 8th quickest.
It's always been somewhat of a mystery to me, Larry, why at the shortest track you run the biggest brakes of anywhere on the circuit.
It's because you use the most.
Yeah.
You use them the most. And the better brakes they give them, the harder they want to drive them off in the corner.
Well, really, you guys would go to Daytona and you'd put these little bicycle caliper brakes on there. With the fastest tracks there in Talladega, and then you come here and you got these big old 6-pot calipers to wrap halfway around the wheel.
Of course, at Daytona and Talladega, really the only time you may use them is when you go to come on to pit road.
So here's Travis Quaffle in the Kodak Jasper Engines and Transmissions Dodge.
Travis was 4th quickest in practice. Had a great qualifying run here in the fall, driving a 3rd Penske car.
And let's straighten that out. Is this now a 3rd Penske car?
Yes, that's my understanding. Now, Jasper's still involved, obviously, but yeah, I think it's treated definitely as a third Penske car. So actually, I guess that would have been all but in a fourth Penske car. But again, the Jasper people have a lot to do with this car.
1989, first lap for Travis, 8th quickest.
And you hear that little bit of like the motor missing at the end of the straightaway, getting hard into the rev limiter. And you use that for two things here, obviously to keep from turning too many RPMs, but it's a good checking device for that driver to keep him from overdriving the entrance of the corner.
Good lap for Travis, puts him 5th with a 1978. Coming up, Brian Vickers, Mark Martin, Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip. Former Busch Series champion Brian Vickers, the Ditech.com GMAX Chevrolet, will be our 17th driver on the clock.
Brian was 12th quickest in practice. We're starting to see a little bit of sun peek out here now. Brightened up a little bit. Had a good solid run at Bristol last week. Stayed clean, finished 12th. His team came up here and tested a couple of weeks ago, as a lot of teams did.
First lap is 11th, 1994.
That's about 3/10 slower than he ran in practice. And I think one thing that's deceiving about this practice sheet, I think a lot of these guys maybe run their fastest lap only into a run, maybe the 4th or 5th lap after the tires got some heat. You could say he's really struggling getting in the throttle coming off the corner. The back end wants to come around with you.
Second lap moves him up to 10th, 1991. As we go to Matt Yoakum with Elliott Sadler, we'll let him know that Store 504, Home Depot 504, is in Round Rock, Texas.
Tony knew it was Texas.
I wonder if that's anywhere near the Texas Motor Speedway we're going to be going very shortly there. Elliott Sadler had a good run there last year. Let's talk about this racetrack. You're from the state of Virginia. How big for Elliott Sadler would a win be here?
Oh, it'd be great. You know, I've met a lot of fans here when I used to drive for the Wood Brothers. They got a lot of support in this area. And Virginia fans, I just think are great. We always sell out Richmond. We always sell out Martinsville. Just wish I could give them something to cheer about. We were like 30th quick or so in practice. Changed absolutely everything on the car. Springs, shocks, truck arms, sway bars, anything we could change. So maybe the M&M's 4 will be okay. I really don't know what it's going to do, but I guess I'll find out here soon enough.
And they have really been on a roll when you look at the championship standings. The past 2 races, Mike, they've jumped from 13th all the way up to 5th.
Big pickup for Sadler. Mark Martin in his final spring race at Martinsville in the Viagra Taurus. 38 starts at Martinsville, 3 poles, 2 wins.
He was in pretty good shape until he got to the middle of turn 3 and 4. It looked like he was on a front row run anyhow. 8th quickest after that first lap, 1987.
In his first spring race here, he started 5th and finished 3rd. That was 1981.
Mark picks it up, actually slows down just a little bit. So he's 8th quickest right now.
And added to that, 10 top 5 finishes here at Martinsville for Mark.
But it's been a little bit of a struggle. Last 4 Martinsville races, no top 10 finishes. So he's looking to change that come Sunday.
Dick Birdring.
Well, last October, Travis Kvapil qualified 5th here. Right now, 5th on the board. Is that okay?
Well, we're 5th right now, but I don't think that's going to hold up very good. I don't know what happened. We really didn't change hardly anything on the race car from practice, and we were so good in practice. We slowed down a couple tenths, and a couple tenths here at Martinsville could be really big. So everybody looks like they're slowing down a little bit, but hopefully this will hold up and we can start in the top 15. I'm just glad we're getting it in, because if we win by points, we'd be back there a little bit. So I don't know. I'm proud of the guys on the Kodak team. They did a good job. We had a good car off the truck. We were good in practice. Just off a little bit right there for those 2 laps.
And there's no impounds that they can adjust this car to make it still faster. Mike?
Dale Jarrett in the Robert Yates UPS Ford won the spring race here in 2001. This will be his 38th Martinsville race.
Yeah, he was 27th quickest in practice earlier. First lap 1996. He actually made his very first career Nextel Cup start here in the spring of 1984.
And add to 19 years of Cup racing here, a lot of years here in the Busch Series and the Late Model Sportsman Series that preceded NASCAR's Busch Series. So DJ in at 1996, 13th quickest, second lap, same as the first. And you saw the move by both the Yates cars last week in Bristol, with DJ's top 5 moving up into the top 10 in points.
Yeah, that was not only his first top 5 finish of 2005, his first top 10 finish, and as you see, quietly moved in the top 10 in points with a lot of good run by that race team and a lot of troubles for others.
Michael Waltrip in the Napa Chevrolet. Only one top 5 finish here in 38 starts, with the best finish of 3rd.
Michael was 26 quickest earlier. Now again, remember the race teams, you can see Michael really got his shape out off turn 4, and he kind of threw his rhythm off all the way down the front stretch, which certainly can then throw your rhythm off getting through 1 and 2. But this is the car that Dale Jr. ran last year at some of the short tracks like Loudon, New Hampshire. You can see this is not going to be a very good lap for Michael. Looked a lot better off turn 4 that time.
20:09, 15th fastest. Wow, big pickup on the Fox tractor there, getting off turn 2. Yeah, this should be better.
As long as he can hold that speed coming off turn 3 and 4 and hold that throttle down, might be a little better possibly. It's going to be close. Well, it's close, but it's over a 1/10 of a pickup. A little bit's a lot here.
And it's worth 2 positions. It moves Michael up to 13th for the 1995. Coming up, Robbie Gordon, Ricky Rudd, Elliott Sadler, Jeff Burke. Bud Pole qualifying for Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by Budweiser, official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsors of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car. Robbie Gordon takes the green flag in the Harris Chevrolet, muscles it down into turn 1 as we go to Matt with the other Gordon.
The other Gordon, Mike, has led the most laps in 2 of the last 3 races here at Martinsville. So do you like the older concrete or the newer concrete?
Well, the new one's growing on us. You know, I think we definitely took a different driving style, a different setup than what we used to. And, you know, we had this place down pretty good. I mean, I just want to make sure the concrete stays on the track. We don't run into any of it. And I don't think we'll have to worry about that with this this surface. They did a great job. It's just different than what it used to be for us.
Now, Mike, you talked a lot about the Cardinal 500 and the Dogwood 500. You can see up on the left front corner, the 24 car, they have the Rapid Roman, the late Richie Evans number, up on the left front corner.
The famed 61 Big Orange. 9-time modified champion Richie Evans, who lost his life in a crash here at Martinsville while practicing for that Cardinal 500. Ricky Rudd, 51 races at Martinsville, 3 wins, 4 poles. But he is one of those drivers that have to qualify because the Wood Brothers number 21, bad luck in the early part of the season, not among the top 35 in owner points. As we watch Rudd, let's tell you that Robbie Gordon, 18th quickest at a 20:28. That bumps Randy LaJoie into the race for Sunday and moves Johnny Sauter up to the hot seat.
Yeah, even though Robbie Gordon picked up quite a bit on that second lap, still quite a bit off from what I think these guys are going to need to run to get in this race. I know the Wood Brothers put a lot of effort. Again, this is their home racetrack. They tested here for 2 days. And Fatback Michael McSwain, his crew chief, he's feeling quite a bit better now. Told me they could have used 3 days here. You just run out of stuff, run out of time to do everything you want to.
Rudd's in and handsomely 6th fastest with the 1979. When David Pearson drove all those years for the Wood Brothers, they concentrated and ran only the super speedways and the road courses and 1 short track each year. Their home track right here in Martinsville, 2 races a year. Second lap for Rudd is better. He is 5th fastest at a 1975, and he will race on Sunday.
And of course, if he has a good run here on Sunday, when we get to Texas next week, he may not be one of those go or go home cars, because each week now it's the current top 35 in owner points, so it can move around a little bit.
Right, the danger zone floats from week to week based on that week's owner point standings. So you're right, a good finish could put them in amongst the top 35 owners. Elliott Sadler for the Wood Brothers, or for Robert Yates rather. Won a short track race with the Wood Brothers. Here is Sadler in the M&M Sport.
You heard him talk about all the changes that his crew chief Todd Parrott made on this race car before qualifying.
The good thing about this extra lap that they give him here, it gives him a chance to kind of fill all of those changes out as he takes the green flag to start his qualifying run. See crew chief Todd Parrott right there. Left.
They got their first short track pole last week. It was Elliott's third career pole.
Elliott, like a lot of guys in the top 10, just been pretty quiet but solid. You can see a little bit of smoke coming off. I don't know if that was he actually slid the tires or may have been actually a tire rubbing when the nose went down on the car. Decent first lap, 1989.
He is 11th.
Car actually looked a little better that lap. Let's see if he can pick it up. Slows down just a little bit, so right now he'll be 11th quickest.
So right now on the outside looking in, Johnny Sauter, Robbie Gordon, Jeff Fuller, and Kirk Shelmerdine, but still a long way to go. Bud pole qualifying here, and 5 drivers left to go who have to time their way in. Last week is one that, well, Sunday anyway, that Jeff Burton would like to forget. Monday turned out pretty good, but Jimmy Johnson slid up and into him, knocking him out of the race and into the path of Kurt Busch.
On the mic. And this right here is a hard leg. I talked to Jimmy Penning, Kurt Busch's crew chief. You see Kurt right there. He said he was pretty sore on Monday.
But I like what Jimmy Johnson said. He walked right up into the 31 hauler and apologized. And I think really did a lot to defuse that situation and hopefully earn back a little respect, some of the respect that was lost in that incident.
That was part of what I talked about at the beginning of the show. What happened in Bristol, those guys were able to leave in Bristol because they talked about it before they left Bristol.
The Burton brothers, Jeff and Ward, from South Boston, Virginia, not far from Martinsville. Short ride over a couple of hills and home to a really nice little speedway that both the Burton brothers cut their teeth on and raced a lot in late models and in the NASCAR Busch Series.
First lap was 1994. He slowed down a little bit on the second lap. So right now Jeff is 15th quickest, and I guess right now the pattern I'm definitely seeing, it looks like more cars are slowing down on that second lap, and that could simply be a product of this little softer tire where it has maximum grip, I think, in the very first lap.
So the singular Chevy is 15th. Here's Dick.
With Ricky Rudd, who is 5th right now. But golly, Ricky, 51 starts here, 3 wins, 4 poles. What could you possibly not know about this place that you might learn by coming here to test?
Well, I tell you, we came here and run over 500 laps of practice a couple of weeks ago. We never worked on qualifying stuff, and you know, we kind of got ourselves in a box with this point situation right now. So actually left a little speed on the table. Went really extra conservative today. Might have been at least another 10th in it, but I couldn't afford to do something stupid. We had nothing to fall back on. So I'm just really excited. Everybody on this Motorcraft team, Fatback McSwain, everybody involved, they put a really good race car on me this week, and we'll have to wait to see it happen on Sunday.
Boy, with that past record, with all that tested, watch this guy on Sunday, Mike.
Got 3 wins for 3 different owners. Childress, Richard Childress, Bud Moore, and for his own team. Bobby Labonte in the Interstate Battery Chevy of Joe Gibbs. He is just in the top 35, so he doesn't have to qualify, but this looks like a strong effort. Second fastest first lap. He's in the 60s.
1967. That's a good lap for Bobby.
This one could be better. Looking for his second Martinsville pole. Trails off just a bit, coming off turn number 4.
Yeah, slowed down just a little bit. You talked about it with 1 win here in the Nextel Cup. Of course, the Busch Series, they do not come here anymore, but he won a Busch race here in 1992.
Coming up, Mike Garvey, Jeff Gordon, and Sterling Marlin. Mike Garvey in the Jana King Dodge lays down a good lap, 20.01. He will race on Sunday.
Remember, he made the race to Atlanta a couple of weeks ago.
Last season, talk about you got to race the racetrack. That puff of smoke was from that piece of concrete that came up out of the racetrack and hit the front end of Jeff Gordon's car. Everybody had a look at it. They made a big patch. Jeff is arguing his case. He shouldn't have to go to the back because of something that the racetrack did to him. Well, yes, he did have to go to the back, but they got it fixed. He got back out, and here he comes. Gordon has started on the front row 6 of his last 8 Martinsville races.
But that's why we have a new surface here now. They resurfaced it before the fall race last year.
Ooh, 8th on the first lap at a 1979.
And just remember, he has 4 consecutive poles here for the spring race, going for 5. Second lap looking a little bit better, but he loses a little bit right down there in turn 3 and 4. I believe it's going to be better in lap 1, but I don't think it's going to be a pole run.
It's not, Larry. He picks up only 100th of a second. It does move him up to 7th.
Streaks are made to come to an end.
5 wins, 5 poles. That's how things stand right now for Jeff Gordon.
He's 12th in the points right now. Yeah, this team pretty much after winning the Daytona 500 almost have been like feast or famine this year.
Sterling Marlin, our next qualifier. Here's Dick.
With Bobby Labonte, who had a terrific run, and why not? The last 3 races here, he's had a win and a pair of seconds. But I was listening on the radio, and you congratulated your crew. Crew congratulated the wheelman. Who was really responsible for this great run?
Well, I mean, I know they are a lot. I mean, that's for sure. And it's just fun to drive a car that's been responsive all day, and we've had that. And, you know, we were able to back up our times, and it's kind of hard to do a lot of times here qualifying, especially with the weather kind of up and down. But just a good job by all the guys and everybody in the shop. We worked real hard. Our results don't show for it this year, but, you know, hopefully we're made a corner here.
Both Joe Gibbs cars have qualified well, Mike.
Thanks, Dick, for Sterling Marlin's Coors Light Dodge. 147 short track starts, 12 top 5s, including 4 here at Martinsville. 11th on the first lap for Marlin.
Sterling was only 25th quickest in practice a little earlier. But going back to Bobby Labonte, I think it's taken a few races for him and Steve Addington, his new crew chief, to kind of get acclimated. And I think if they just get luck on their side, I think things will start clicking for that 18 car as Sterling ends up 11th quickest.
Coming up, Scott Wimmer, Casey Kane, Scott Briggs, and Jeff Green. DW puts on the helmet for the last time tomorrow in the NASCAR Craftsman's Truck Series. Qualifying for that race is later today. A lot of trucks trying to make it, and he hopes to be there. Hope you will be too tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time right here.
Yeah, DW, Bobby Labonte will be in that race. Kevin Harvick, at least all those guys will be trying to qualify for that race.
Scott Wimmer in the Bill Davis Cat Dodge has 2 Martinsville starts with the best finish of 20th.
In fact, Scott Wimmer's pit crew will be taking care of DW's pit road activities tomorrow.
First lap for Wimmer, 2018. That is 25th. And he picks it up 4 spots on lap 2 to 21st. Right now on the hot seat, Johnny Sauter, among those who are trying to make the field on time. Here's Matt.
And Carl Edwards, a.k.a. the Flipper, talking to Ryan Newman, a.k.a. the Rocket Man, as he puts his helmet on. So the past 2 races, you've had your best career finish, a win, and also your worst finish this season, 26 last week. Describe how your day has been.
Well, we're going to go do a little dirt racing tomorrow night in Moberly, Missouri, but we got started a little early this morning in the Scott's car and got sideways, wheel hopped it a little bit, and a lot like what Kenny Schrader did, just got loose in and couldn't gather it up before I got through the marbles. But my team is awesome. My guys are behind me 100%, and that's so cool to see how hard they're going to work for me, and now I got to go work for them and put a good lap down.
Now, did you get any tips about qualifying from Ryan Newman? He seems to be the fast man usually.
He won't tell me anything about qualifying. I rode with him in the rental car the other day, and he ran over a curb.
You had the seatbelt on, right?
I had the seatbelt on. I told him, I said, Matt must give you really good cars, buddy, because you can't drive.
Casey Kane, 2019 on the first lap for the Dodge Dealers Dodge. Uses up all the racetrack coming off turn number 4. And picks kicks it up a bit to 23rd.
And just to follow up what Carl Edwards was talking about on wheel hopping, that can be a small product of the rear shock absorbers, but the biggest thing, these guys can adjust the brake bias between front and rear. And what you try to do here is crank as much rear brake as you possibly can in it, because that'll make the car turn getting in the corner, but you can crank so much it puts too much rear brake in it, and when you get on the brake, it'll actually get the rear wheels to shuddering as you get off in the corner, and it's normally not a very pretty sight.
Scott Riggs, 2 Martinsville starts in the Cup Series. Picked up a 10th at Bristol, his 3rd top 10 of the season and 2nd in a row.
And Mike, he was pretty quick in practice earlier, 8th quickest. They did not test for this race. Of course, this is Scott's sophomore season, but they tested twice here last year. You see his car wiggle a little bit as he got on the brakes getting into turn 1. And just watch the nose of this car dive down as you jump on the brake pedal right there. It goes from about 4.5 inches off the ground to right against the ground when you dive on the brake pedal. Hey, 1958, he's on the butt pole. Great run for Scott.
How about that?
This team, they just keep getting stronger and stronger.
Hendrick engines and in-house chassis of a Ryan Pemberton design for he and his teammate Joe Nemechek, and Scott Riggs has snatched the butt pole from out of the hands of Rusty Wallace.
And that's without testing this year.
Scott Riggs is the new fastest man in town. He has never qualified better than 4th, which he's done 4 times, and right now he's on the pole as Jeff Green in the Cheerios Dodge of the Petties is on the speedway. Green making his 10th Martinsville appearance, qualified 6th last week at Bristol.
One of the cars that fell victim to a tire problem at Bristol last week. Brand new car, and he was 18th quickest in practice earlier. First lap, 1977. Good lap, 8th quickest for Jeff. Good lap. I think this one will be a little slower though, Mike.
3 Dodges in the top 10. Second lap looked much like the first. Matt with another driver who's trying to rebound from a rough week at Bristol.
Kurt Busch putting that helmet on, the steering wheel on the post. First off, how do you feel after that hard hit last week?
Yeah, that was a shot. I just made the choice to go high instead of going low. It's one of those things where you just wish you didn't make the wrong decision because it hurts the next day. But you know, to bring the Crown Royal car out this week, maybe that's the best thing that I can do to get over the pain. But we're going to do a responsible lap today, see if we can run a nice 60. But I always shoot for Jimmy Fenning's age, the year he was born here. That'd be in 1953. Would be money then.
That would be a big lap.
That would be fast.
So one of the benefits of having an older crew chief.
Exactly.
You get a lower lap time to shoot for.
Of course, since Matt's turning 40 today, I'd just go ahead and shoot for a 1940.
Dave Blaney, new colors on the Richard Childress Chevrolet this week. SKF bearings, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yep. A couple of raindrops as Blaney makes his run.
Yeah, they actually make bearing seals and other related products. In RCR, Richard Childress Racing, and SKF, they have like a technical partnership. But Dave's practice earlier was not uneventful. He got sideways getting into turn 3 late in the practice and went up and just barely skimmed the outside wall, but not enough that they had to go to a backup car or anything.
Well, certainly it hurt their chances. 20-28 first lap for Blaney. That or it. Yeah, we're getting a few drops. I don't think enough really to affect the racetrack yet, Larry.
But it may be affecting that driver's mental attitude as he sees those raindrops hitting that windshield.
Second lap a little quicker, but Blaney is still 29th. Dick Berggren's with a guy who has a big smile.
Yeah, Scott Riggs, he ought to have a big smile on his face given what's just happened to him. Now listen, April 2001, your very first ever big league NASCAR win, Craftsman Truck Series, right here. Will this be your first big league pole in the Nextel Cup Series?
Well, I hope so. We want to come every single race and be as competitive as we can be with the Valvoline Centrex Chevrolet, and
you know, I'm just proud of all the guys because everyone's working together so well right now. And my crew chief, Doug Randolph's doing a great job of using all these guys on this team to, you know, utilize everyone's skills and to be able to put everything together and know what kind of decisions to make. And just everything is going good right now for us, and we're having fun. And, you know, Martinsville was a place I came here in some late model races and didn't fare very well. And we came here in a truck and won the race. And I hope we can have a good starting position. I don't know if we're going to be the pole, but I think it'll be good enough for us to have a good day on Sunday, and that's what we want.
And all he needs is a little luck and for this rain to stop, Mike.
Yes, and we'll explain what's happening as Joe Nemechek came around turn 2 and stopped. It is raining again. Nemechek has aborted his qualifying run. We'll await word from NASCAR officials if he will get a rerun due to the rain. But the rules provide that unless every driver has a chance at the clocks, the session is a washout. So we've still got a ways to go here in Martinsville. There are, what, 15 cars counting Nemechek that have to go. Welcome back to Martinsville, where now Joe Nemechek does get a rerun. He is on the clock in the U.S. Army Chevrolet, and like his teammate Scott Riggs, who is currently quickest, Hendrick engines and in-house chassis for this team.
Like he really had to hesitate in the middle of turn 3 and 4 before he could pick that throttle up. If there's one driver and team that's maybe had worse luck than Bobby Labonte and 18 team, it would be this 01 team. They've had a good race car, a lot of races. His first lap in 1983, 14th quickest. It was pretty good shape until he drove down into turn 3. It's still going to be, I think, a lot better lap than lap 1. Maybe a top 10 run for Joe.
It is 6th fastest with a 1972. So a good pickup for Joe Nemechek. Matt?
Kyle Busch, another young driver looking to make his first career start here at Martinsville. So had you ever even seen the place before you came here, before your test?
Well, first off, we want to wish, of course, the family of Rusty Kilgore, who passed away this past weekend at Kellogg's shop. You know, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys, but we really miss them. And it's back to the Martinsville. It took a little while to get accustomed to it, but not too long. It was pretty good. We came up here and tested for 2 days, had a solid test, and just tried to learn the place, tried to learn how to get into the corner and how to get the car to turn and get it to hook up off the corner. That's what this place is all about, obviously. So we didn't kill any brakes either, so I guess we got something maybe going on our side so far.
And Larry Mack, just to let you know that if I look at your age now, and I know that the age that I am, I've got about another 20 years left in this business that we call television, so I'm feeling very good today.
I'm not sure exactly what he was trying to tell me there, the point he was trying to make, but regardless, Matt, happy birthday, buddy.
Casey Mears and the Target Dodge 1989, that's 17th quickest on his first lap.
And Mike, you've described this thing a lot. I've heard you say it's like a paper clip. I mean, the straightaways of this racetrack, they're only 800 feet long. And the bank, you remember Bristol last week, 36 degrees. These corners are 12 degrees. They're essentially flat corners.
2 drag strips connected by 2 U-turns. As Casey Mears, the first lap is the quicker. Coming up, Carl Long, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Hermie Sadler. Chevrolet not quick enough to make the show. Spun on his second lap, didn't hit anything, but 20:59 will send Carl to the house. He tried to get all of it coming off turn 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure his crew chief told him what his first lap was, and he knew that was not going to be good enough, so he tries to pick up a little bit of speed there. This is about as close as you'll come to not hitting the wall, the inside wall on the front stretch, but Carl Long will be loading up, going to the house after making the race at Bristol last week. You see here, through the middle of 3 and 4, got to pick it up, got to pick the throttle up. He's up the racetrack a little bit, out of the groove, about a half a groove, and the car just would not stick. The back end came around with him.
His misfortune is good news for Johnny Sauter. He just bumps Sauter into the field, and it moves Robbie Gordon up to the hot seat with 3 drivers left to go who have to time their way in. So here's Carl Edwards, the Scott's Ford, number 99.
You heard Dick Bergeron when he talked to him. Remember, Carl got in the wall in practice. He only got 6 laps of practice in, so not a lot of laps for this 99 team.
2011, good safe lap, 30th on his first lap. Picks it up to an 03 and gains 2 positions. Last week at Bristol, bad day for Carl Edwards. Hermie Sadler had to hit the brakes hard to miss something that happened in front of him. That something was Jason Leffler, who came back down into him. But Edwards got into Sadler, punctured the radiator in Edwards' car, and they spent the rest of the day kind of in and out of the pits and garage, but logged a lot of laps.
Interesting comments by Carl. As we interviewed him, he said, you know, I was trying to be patient, and maybe I was actually too patient.
His Roush Racing teammate on the track, a fellow who also got caught up in a wreck not of his own making, Kurt Busch, who piled into Jeff Burton during the Bristol race.
And he was pretty quick in practice earlier, Mike. 3rd quickest.
He won the October race here in 2002. Started 7th in both races here last year.
Pretty good shape on the exit of turn 4, but a good top 10 run right there. 6th quickest for Kurt, 1971.
3 Fords in the top 10, Biffle, Busch, and Ricky Rudd right now.
It looked like he eased it into turn 3, lost a lot of ground, tried to pick it back up, but that lap's definitely going to be slower, 1983, so it'll be 6th quickest.
Coming up, Hermie Sadler, Bobby Hamilton Jr., and the Rocket, Ryan Newman. Hermie Sadler in the Peak Fitness Ford has made 7 Cup starts here at Martinsville. He will make his 8th on Sunday. He's in the race with a 20:07. Matt.
Real quick, Jason Leffler very fast in practice, 12th. You got to be excited about your chance for a solid start here, Jason.
Yeah, Matty. Just try not to overdo it. The FedEx Express Monte Carlo is really good. The guys are doing a great job. Had an awesome test here, so hopefully we get 2 smooth laps in and start near the front.
And Larry Mack, I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the Wood family. Now, Kim Hall had her 25th birthday late last month. Eddie Woods today, and Lynn Wood, he's in about 9 days.
And of course, Matt Yoakum's 40th birthday today, and now his mic's closed and he can't come back at me.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the Tide Chevrolet had that run in last week with Kenny Schrader. Took a bunch of cars out. Hamilton fessed up to it. He says, I made a mistake. Sorry about that. And 9 cars in all were involved. So he's going to redeem himself here with a lap that is good for 22nd, 1992. And looks like the second one will be similar.
But you have to have a lot of respect for him. You know, at Bristol, you have about a half of a second to make a decision. You know, he made a bad decision, but he got out of the race car and said, you know what, I messed up and I'm sorry, especially for those teams that got tore up. And of course, the old Tide ride there, that sponsor, they've been to victory lane here 5 times, once with Ricky Craven and a few times with ODW.
And with, didn't they also go with Ricky Rudd?
Ricky Rudd.
Time for the Rocket. 6 Martinsville starts, all in the top 10, average of 4th. And he is the track record holder. Let's see if he can displace Scott Riggs, who is trying to win his first ever Bud pole. The last driver to get his first career pole at Martinsville was Tony Stewart, 1999. Newman was fastest in practice with his Alltel Dodge.
Tell you what, Mike, and of course this is just on his warm-up lap. Car looks awfully good. Looks like it stays flat. It rotates good. You saw Scott Riggs watching this run. Now the clock begins here. Car rotates through the middle of the corner. Got a little loose right there as he picked the throttle up, but it looked like he maybe somewhat stayed in it. Let's see what happens down here in turn 3 and 4. Car rotates good there. Lost a little bit of ground right there. This may not quite do it on lap 1. Second quickest, 1959, 3/1000ths of a second slower than Scott Riggs, but the car looked a lot more solid off turn 2 that time.
Now much better exit of turn 2. Smooth off turn number 4.
It's going to be close, real close. No, he does not do it. He actually slows down on lap 2. So Scott Riggs can breathe one sigh of relief.
My goodness, Ryan Newman does not win the pole. What's going on here?
That's a little over a tenth and a half slower than he ran in practice. He ran a 1942 earlier today.
Okay, so he didn't win the pole, but 3 1/1000ths of a second. Certainly right there. Next up is Kyle Busch of the Kellogg Chevrolet. And there's Bristol, where he gets sucked into Joe Nemechek, which takes out Casey Mears. So easy, like Mears, to get caught up in something you had nothing to do with starting. And Martinsville is no exception. Those accordion-like, toss of the car there, those accordion-like collisions seem to happen just as frequently here as there. Somebody gets loose, somebody bumps them, and 10 cars back, somebody wrecks.
Happens in a hurry. Now, this is Kyle Busch's first lap, so he pretty much knows this is a throwaway lap simply because of what happened in turn 1 and 2. Let's see how he gets down in there this time. Car looked a lot more solid. He was able to stay on the bottom of the racetrack, driving pretty straight up off the corner, so this is definitely going to be a lot better than that first lap. In fact, it looks a whole lot better, especially until he got to the middle of 3 and 4, but the car washed up the racetrack just a little bit, and he lost a lot of ground on the exit of the corner. 1987, that puts him 17th quickest.
Dick Berggren is with the man who missed the pole by 3 1/1000ths of a second.
Yeah, and the Rocket Man's not smiling, but that was a good lap, Ryan.
It was a good lap for sure. Wish could have done better, but a little loose in the middle, a little loose off, and a little bit slower in practice, so that all makes sense.
But now you can adjust it for tomorrow.
What's that?
Now you can adjust it tomorrow for Sunday.
I didn't hear what you said. I think our car will be good in the race. Didn't do any race trim runs in qualifying practice there, but like some of the guys did. But I think we'll have a good Autel Dodge for Sunday.
I'm sure you will. Thanks.
Jason Leffler, the FedEx Chevy from Joe Gibbs, also just barely in that top 35, so he gets the qualifying exemption in his third Martinsville appearance.
For the first time in 2005, because the first 5 races, with this being a brand new race team, they were on pins and needles each and every event. He was pretty quick in practice earlier, 12th quickest. Looks like a pretty solid run for Jason.
This is a threat right here.
Nope. It's like he was a little late picking up the throttle. It's still going to be a great qualifying run for this 11 team, though. Came up here and tested. 11th quickest for Jason.
1975. So Scott Riggs still has to sweat Leffler, Mike Bliss, Stanton Barrett, Kevin Harvick, Kevin LePage, Jeremy Mayfield, and the rain, because unless every driver gets a chance to run, all these results get tossed out the window.
It's like Jason was a threat for the pole on both laps, all the way except for turn 4 and the exits where he lost the ground.
Leffler is 10th. Mike Bliss is next, followed by Stanton Barrett and Kevin Harvick. Bud Pole qualifying from Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by Win Fuel, the first ever multi-Vita win. And by Polaris ATVs, the world's toughest ATVs. Stanton Barrett has just run a lap of 20.37. That bumps Robbie Gordon into the race. So Robbie will race for the 4th time this season. Here is Kevin Harvick with the big Bristol double. Bristol stomp with both feet. Sunday in the Nextel Cup Series. He came right back on Monday to lead teammate Jeff Burton to a 1-2 Reese's Childress Racing sweep of the Busch race at Bristol. While we were away, Mike Bliss in the 0 ran a 1977, 13th fastest on the day, as here are Harvick's stats.
And then right after he finished all the Victory Lane celebration last Monday, he jumped in a car, drove to Caraway Speedway in Asheboro, North Carolina, and tested this car in preparation coming here to Martinsville. So a very busy day on Monday.
I understand he went and tested with crew chief Todd Berrier, who is allowed to go test at non-cup tracks, but is serving a 4-race suspension, so is not here.
Has 2 more races. It'll be here. And at Texas, he'll be back at Phoenix. Now, Kevin's first lap was 16th quickest, 1979.
Wow.
Picks it up the 4th quickest. You know, and the most phenomenal thing that I read this week was the last 23 Nextel Cup season, Richard Childress Racing has won at least one race in 21 of those 23 seasons. That's pretty phenomenal with a lot of different drivers.
Sure is. Well, the field is all but set. There are 2 qualifiers left to go. Kevin LePage is the last of those who have to time their way into this race in the John Carter Dodge, and it will be either LePage or Stanton Barrett. One of them will go to the house. LePage needs to beat 20:37. That was Barrett's best lap. Already eliminated are Jeff Fuller, Kirk Shelmerdine, and Carl Long.
Kevin ran a 20:41 in practice earlier, but what we've been seeing is the norm. Most cars are not having any luck repeating their practice runs. So Kevin's going to really have to step it up here if he wants to race on Sunday.
LePage has 10 Cup race starts here.
Mike, it looks like he had the diamond in the middle of the corner, and that's the difference between a car that will not turn or one that really rotates good through the middle of the center. You can see that hesitation right there.
Larry, but it's enough. 20:33 by 4/100ths of a second. He out-qualifies Stanton Barrett, so LePage will race, and Barrett goes home.
So that means Stanton Barrett, Jeff Fuller, Kirk Shelmerdine, and Carl Long will not make the show on Sunday.
Second lap is faster. LePage picks it up to 40th.
And Mike, he's one of those race teams. He's right there in the danger zone. So a good run here on Sunday, especially maybe even making the field, could put him where he's more than safe at Fort Worth, Texas next week.
Good point. One more qualifier, Jeremy Mayfield. Here's Dick.
With Kevin Harvick, who 4th quick, but what has this week been like for you after winning both on Sunday and Monday?
It's been a busy week, but it's been a good busy. So the Jim Goodwin Chevrolet had a great week, and a Risa Chevrolet on Monday. So kept it going this week here at Martinsville and have a good car, and hopefully we can do the same thing this week.
Well, congratulations from all of us on the broadcast team. Job well done. Mike?
Jeremy Mayfield, the Dodge Dealers Dodge, our final qualifier.
He was 2nd quickest in practice earlier. Really coming down, looking pretty good shape halfway down the backstretch right here. Now this will be the last car that Scott Riggs has to worry about, but looks pretty solid if he can get that car to rotate and stay in the throttle right here off turn 4. Looks like a little hesitation, maybe just enough to keep him off the Bud Post so far. 1965, 5th quickest for Jeremy.
3 Dodges in the top 5. Ryan Newman, Rusty Wallace, and Mayfield.
Looks pretty good here, Mike, but right there is where he lost it a while ago. Going to be awfully close. Looks pretty solid right now. It's going to be real close. 3rd quickest for Jeremy, 1966. 19606.
How close is real close? 2/100ths of a second. So Scott Riggs had to sweat it out. He beats Newman by 3/1000ths. He beats Mayfield by 2/100ths. Scott Riggs will start on the Bud pole.
Nextel Cup has a new Bud pole winner.
There's your front row. We'll be right back. Scott Riggs and Ryan Newman run in the 50s to earn the front row for Sunday's Advance Auto Parts 500. Here is your Win Fuel winning edge. Scott Riggs' pole winning run. Back.
Mike, it was a very close first-time pole, and you were holding your breath right to the end.
Yeah, I knew those guys, the 12 and the 19, both had great cars, and just proud of my guys on the Valvoline Centrex Chevrolet for doing such a good job. We've been having a lot of fun this year. We added some new guys to the team, and it's made racing so much more fun this year. I just get in the car, and it's just doing the same old thing we've always done. Get behind the wheel, listen to what your seat's telling you to your butt, and try to do the best job you can, and just proud of everybody. I'm pretty excited.
Dick, and the first thing he said was, guess what? Now we've got to build another super speedway car because we're going to be in the Bud Shootout in February.
Well, Jeremy Mayfield and his teammate both brought brand new cars here. You qualified 3rd quick. These cars different?
Yeah, they're our in-house cars that we've been building, and had a new one last week, new one this week, and they're running really good. I mean, the car's handling good, and just barely missed there. Got a little bit loose, but everything's A-okay. You know, the chassis is working good, and we'll be good in the race.
Indeed. Mike?
5 Chevys, 3 Dodges, and 2 Fords in the top 10 for Sunday.
A lot of previous winners up there in the top 10. See Rusty Wallace, Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch, all previous Martinsville winners.
Scott Riggs, that team just keeps getting better and better.
And the biggest thing, we talked to Rusty Wallace earlier in the show. He said when you qualify good or you sit on the Bud pole, it sets the tempo for the weekend. If you get that car driving good in tomorrow's practice, you can hold that track position, plus you get that prime pit selection.
That is so important here on the short tracks. In the background, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series beginning qualifying for their race you'll see tomorrow on Speed. Check speedtv.com or the other websites for the results of their qualifying. A lot of Cup drivers and DW trying to make that race, as there's the final of 43 starters and those that had to go home. Let's show you what's coming up across the Fox networks this weekend. Final Cup practice on FX, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and then the Craftsman Truck Series race is right here on Speed. That's Saturday. Sunday, NASCAR this morning and NASCAR Victory Lane on Speed. Bracket the Advance Auto Parts 500 on Fox, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
Well, now they'll work on these things a little bit and get them ready to race. A little bit of race practice tomorrow.
And Scott Riggs earns his first ever Bud pole.